This week on Cool Bike Projects, we'll be restoring a 1997 Specialized Stumpjumper Comp. Back in 1997, this Specialized Stumpjumper Comp retailed for $1,350. This was not a cheap bike, and like many hardtails in its day, this was geared towards cross-country racers. Nowadays, you might think that any Specialized bike is a dime a dozen, but this M2 hardtail was actually hand-welded here in the US. Today, we're going to be doing an overhaul on this bike, checking out the wheels, the drivetrain, the suspension, changing up the stem and the bars, and making sure this is in top shape for the next rider. After a heavy cleaning and polish to try to get some of the scratches out of the clear coat, it was time to reassemble the bike. I won't say too much about the suspension at this point because the original last tubers are dried up and worn out. I have some on order, as well as some pedals that didn't make it in time for this build, but it is time for them to be replaced. Now this frame is only 15.5 inches, so definitely for a smaller rider. And so to do a little bit of an update, we're putting on a 60mm stem and a much wider bar with an uprise to help modernize the geometry. Now, for being a 25-year-old bike, it wasn't in too bad a shape, but it definitely had seen a lot of miles based on the chain wear, the cogs, and even the brakes. So as you see me slowing down at different points, adding on different parts and adjusting things, just keep in mind this was not a bike that sat in a garage. This thing was used. Of all the things I spent my time on, the back wheel was probably the most labor intensive. The grease had long since dried up and the bearings felt rough, and the entire back spokes were loose by at least a half turn. If you're ever curious if it's worth overhauling the hubs or the bottom bracket of your bike, if it's been more than 10 or 20 years and you've ridden it quite a bit, the answer is definitely yes. Thanks everyone for watching. This has been a fun restoration and just one of several bike projects coming up this year. Look forward to our first how-to video coming up next. And again, I'd invite you to subscribe and click the notifications button so you know when the next video comes out.